So Fox just got a rude awakening as they've been pushing, by and large, the Trump regime's talking points that tariffs are going to make America so rich and that the more tariffs, the better. And you have Fox hosts like Jesse Waters out there who are out there saying, no, these tariffs are brilliant. This is how you break Xi Jinping. So no, Trump really wants these tariffs. Tariffs are great. Well, now these Fox hosts are eating their words the same way Donald Trump lied, though, and said that the foreign countries would eat the tariffs because the foreign countries don't eat the tariffs. What was happening is exactly what we and economists told you was going to happen, that the costs were going to get passed on to the consumers in the form of basically the largest regressive tax in history. By the way, layer on that the disastrous Trump big beautiful budget, which is one big beautiful disaster. More on that in a bit. And Americans are getting screwed. But one thing I want to point out as well is that not only Donald Trump make these state regime media hosts like Jesse Waters now look utterly stupid, but Donald Trump also has not pulled out his tariffs, I think in the appropriate time. So if you're actually looking what economists are saying right now, the same percentage of recessionary risk exists now because of this 100 days or whatever you want to call it of absolute madness where Donald Trump declared trade wars against the world and then withdrew the trade wars against the world. Let me show you what went down here. So I just want to take some of the receipts and show you what the Fox hosts themselves were doing. So here you have specifically Jesse Waters was pushing this. And now Jesse Waters is going to say, well, actually, I think that removing the tariffs, this was all part of some brilliant chess move. And I was involved in it. And I was part of the crazy Ivan theory. That's what they call it. Crazy Ivan does crazy things. No, he's just an idiot who wakes up, does things that harms the economy, and then gets scared and panics and then withdraws those plans. So here's Jesse Waters from April 17th, basically saying, what we're going to be able to do with these tariffs, here's the brilliance. We're going to be able to collapse the Chinese system. This is Trump attacking Xi and Donald Trump's going the distance. Watch what Jesse Waters said on April 17th. Play this clip.
Trump, if this is pulled off, could go down in the history as the guy who broke China. Now, the question is, what kind of collateral damage is that going to cause? Mm-hmm. Are we going to be able to reindustrialize at the same time as we collapse the Chinese system? I don't know. He's got to stick the landing perfectly. We have to get deals with Mexico and Canada. That is the most important. And I'm sure we'll get a deal with the Europeans.
Okay, well, why don't I rewind and show you what Jesse Waters said on April 10th, 2025, when he goes, we're going to collapse China's economy. That's what this is about. When actually the opposite took place. And now the data that we have actually shows that China's economy was growing, America's economy retracted, or contracted rather, and the rest of the world now actually views China as a more favorable and reliable partner than the United States. But here's Jesse Waters from April 10th. Let's play it.
What you're seeing right now is Trump is getting the entire world to rally with us against the Chinese. If he can cut deals so they lower their trade barriers against us, invest in the United States, bring their factories here, and raise their trade barriers against China, what that does to China, it collapses their economy, mass unemployment, and then possibly the regime gets toppled. So if they don't want their regime getting toppled, they have to cut a deal with us.
Now, here's Jesse Waters from April 9th, 2025. You see, I'm bringing receipt after receipt. And here he talks about remember how Reagan crushed the Soviet Union? He goes, Trump is going to crush China with these tariffs. Play this clip.
Remember how Reagan crushed the Soviet Union? He used economic force and military spending to break them into pieces. Trump has an opportunity to do the exact same thing here in China. It's what everybody has always wanted.
All right, we're taking some stops through memory lane right here. Here's Jesse Waters on April 8th, 2025. Let's play it.
And now you're seeing what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to destroy China. Because if you break the Chinese economy, you put America back on top. The Chinese thought they were going to overtake us. It's not going to happen if this thing goes through. If you can cut off their exports, they're toast. You can't export all these cheap products here. You're definitely not going to sell them into Europe because they don't have the consumer power. And so the Chinese economy, they can't consume their own stuff because they don't have enough wealth, and they don't have enough families, to be honest with you. And so you're going to have to lay people off, and then the whole country is going to disintegrate. So that's a good thing. And then you're breaking China off from Russia, because this Chinese economy is feeding the Russians. And right now you drop oil to $60 a barrel. So it starves Putin's war machine. And then you separate those two countries. So look what we're doing also at the same time in the Middle East. You have the Syrians, now they're on our side. They're proxies, now ours. And then you have carriers surrounding the Iranians. And we're saying you better negotiate, not nuke up, or we'll bomb. And if they can do a deal there, that's the second Russian proxy that falls. And we'll get that Iranian oil back on the world market, and it keeps the price of oil going lower. We need cheap energy. And then the Europeans, they don't have another game. They have to sell here. They can't sell it anywhere else. And what you're seeing is the EU trade bloc starting to break. Hungary's trying to do a bilateral deal. Your English are going to start trying to just negotiate directly with us. And it splits Germany from France. And then you throw in the Greenland thing.
Of course.
And then you throw in the NATO thing, because right now Pete Hegseth's going, we might bring some troops home. So they're really off kilter. We've now surrounded the Chinese. They thought the Chinese were going to cut deals with the Japanese and the South Koreans. Didn't happen. Thought it was going to cut deals with the Europeans. Didn't happen. And Trump sent Hegseth down to the Panama Canal. He's saying it's ours. And we're wrestling TikTok away from that country too. Everything is moving perfectly at the same time.
Now here's Jesse Waters on April 7th, 2025, and saying how this is how Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is going to break the Bank of China. Let's play the clip.
Now, Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, broke the Bank of England. That's who I want running this. He'll probably break the Bank of China. And that's what we're trying to do here. This is a 40-year problem, and we've only been at it for 4 days. Take a breath.
Now, this Wall Street had been saying, wait a minute, like, this is going to crush business. This is going to destroy everything. So Fox had on Jameson Greer, who's Trump's top trade representative, when the Trump regime was saying, no, there's no chance we're withdrawing these tariffs. These tariffs will always stay in place. And Jameson Greer says, all of these bad projections that we're getting, that's coming from Wall Street, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And so, no, we're definitely keeping the tariffs in place. This was on Fox. Play this clip.
They say it's going to cost the American household $4,800. What do you say to those households?
Well, first of all, I would say with respect to those projections, a lot of those are Wall Street analysts who have a lot to lose themselves. In the first term, we put a lot of tariffs on China, and we saw similar predictions. Those ended up being wrong. Inflation went down. I think the economic fundamentals of our country are still very, very good. And while there may be an adjustment, I think we're going to be on a good path, and I don't think we're going to see that level of increase in household expenses.
All right. So now, of course, we know that Donald Trump reduced the tariffs unilaterally on China. It's not a deal. It's just a retreat by Donald Trump, right? It's a surrender by Donald Trump, but he still kept the tariffs at about 30%. So Trump took off 145% tariffs against China and is now imposing a 30% levy. And again, that's a 30% tax on American importers, which is passed on to the American consumer in the form of a regressive tax, the largest in American history right there. Still a significant amount right there. So now what do you go? Like, it's kind of the worst of all worlds right there. By the way, China was smart because China reduced its 125% tariff to 10%. So what the tax that China's putting on its people is only 10%. So it's less, allowing more business to go into China. That's what it was doing. But even with all of this data, Fox, where are you going now? Because now what we're seeing is even JP Morgan says, even with what Trump did, by the way, which is a complete surrender, in my opinion, JP Morgan goes, we keep our probability of recession at 60% in the context of the largest tax hike in over 50 years, while investors perceive the risk of stagflation as significant. We continue to see ongoing vulnerability of capital outflows in the U.S. as foreign interest and trust is tested. You have Austin Goolsbee, president of the Chicago Federal Reserve, one of the most respected economists ever in the world. It is definitely less impactful impactful stagflationary than the path we were on based on Trump's surrender, yet it's 3 to 5 times higher than what it was before. So it's going to make growth slower and make prices rise, just at a slower beat versus a rapid beat that it was taking at. The Yale Budget Lab updated their simulations using the 30% tariff on China. Bottom line, there's still a significant stagflation shock to the United States economy. And here you even have the Bank of England talking about the UK-US deal, and they refer to it as quite slender. In other words, phony, weak, pathetic, not a real deal. We'll keep you posted with more, but there it is. You saw Fox. What you going to say now, Fox? Oh, actually, the 145, that was all part of the art of the deal. It was just so smart. No, you just wrecked people's lives, real American people's lives, and people around the world for no reason, only to back down, to show how weak you are, and to show America as not reliable in international trade. That's not good. If you think that's good, well, then Trump's got a $400 million Qatari jet to sell you. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.